The book of Psalms, chapter 58, starting at verse 1, and it reads, Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. Giving all praises, glory, infinite honor to our power, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. That is all praises, blessings, honors be to the Most High. His true name is Yahawah. That is the creator of the heavens and the earth. And our Lord and Savior, his name is YAHAWASHI, that's whom the world ignorantly called Jesus. And shalom to the Lord's elect, and much respect to the brothers that teach, preach, and prophesy in the true doctrine of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. There's only one truth. And double honors to the elders, the bishops, and the apostles of the great millstone. That is where I learned this truth. And I want to thank the Most High, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, for giving me the inspiration to do this lesson, the Holy Spirit. YAHAWAH willing means Lord's willing. It'll be edifying and to the point. I just want to bring out a few things here, a few articles and some precepts, and then we'll go from there. All right, so let's get into it. This is an article. Like I always say, it's a geopolitical website that I use for a lot of the stuff that's going on in the geopolitical realm of the world. I mean, because most people are just only consumed with what they see on social media or in their local mainstream media. You know, most people are not. They don't go far beyond the geopolitical spectrum of their countries. You speak to the average person out there, they have no clue what is going on in the world, so to speak. You know, so I just said Psalms 58 in verse 2. Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. And that word weigh, it goes into what? It says to weigh something means to determine its mass or heaviness, typically using a scale or balance. It can also mean considering something carefully before making a decision. See that? In simpler terms, it's about to measure how heavy something is or evaluating it thoroughly. See? Because that is very prophetic, because it says here in this article from Hal Turner radio show, it says U.S. and Iran begin nuclear talks in Oman. It says right at the top here, it says repeated threats. First high-level talks between Iran and United States in over a decade kicked off in Oman. U.S. Our goal is to prevent Iran from ever getting nukes. So he says from ever getting nukes as in nuclear missiles. And this is going to explain to you why in this article a little bit better, and we'll continue. We're going to the precepts. It says talks between the United States and Iran regarding the Iranian nuclear program began Sunday morning in Oman. At stake is a possible military conflict between, listen to this, Iran versus Israel and the United States. And why that is prophetic? Because this is all linked to what? Biblical. This is all biblical prophecy here. Because why? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah and chapter 49 and verse 20, because that is a very prophetic line in the sense that Israel is Americans are fighting a war on behalf of the Israelis. America supplies Israel with lots of nuclear, even nuclear missiles, but also a lot of munitions, money, funding. You know, and they are sworn to protect the Israelis, right? So, with all that being said, they have to weigh carefully, because the moment America or the Israelis attack Iran on a massive level, it is a declaration of war, and that is where you see now the world, that's going to bring all these other nations. And that's why in the Bible it refers to as the war of Armageddon, where all these nations are being gathered and to fight the final war. Because the moment, I'm speaking as a man right now, but the moment America or Israel attacks Iran on that scale, Russia is going to join in, China is going to join in, North Korea is going to join in, and the other nations going to join in, because it tells you in the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, that Russia will be a guard unto these nations, you know, and they made it clear that if Iran, the Russians made it clear that if America touches, I'm just roughly paraphrasing right now, but if America touches the Iranians, it's going to be catastrophic for them. You see, and that's all prophecy, because it tells you here, once again, at stake is a possible military conflict between Iran versus Israel and the United States. So why would it say America is having talks with the Iranians, but at stake is a possible military conflict between Iran versus Israel and the United States? All right, so let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 20. It says, "Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he have taken against Edom." And who's Edom today? Edom is the progenitor of the Edomites, the ones that are ruling the earth today. Starting with the head tribe of Amalek, but they're all Edomites. You know, today they call themselves different European nations, but they're Edomites, the ones that are in rulership. Because when YAHAWASHI returns to this earth, the Idumeans, the Edomites, that's the Greek way of saying it, but that's who will be in rulership. Isaiah the 63rd chapter. See, if any biblical scholar out there would tell you the same thing, if they're being honest. It says, "Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he have taken against Edom and his purposes." See, it is the Lord's purposes, because he raised them up. He gave them the blessing of the sword. He raised them up with all that pride. And he'd have that very covetous spirit to go around the earth, conquering lands, but they conquer by violence. As it says in the book of Micah, the 2nd chapter, they covet fields and take them by violence. So they oppress a man and his heritage. You know, even a man. Let me bring it up really quickly. I don't want to misquote it. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, and verse 1. And verse 2 is the point. But it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity." What is iniquity? Is sin on a mass scale, and work evil upon their beds. They're coming up with all these schemes, these unrighteous decrees, things that favor them and not favorable to their enemies or their opponents. You know, so it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light," and you see, even it says when work evil upon their beds, because it tells you in the book of Job, the 33rd chapter, that the Lord seals the instruction of men when deep slumbering is when they're in sleep. You know, that the Lord put that spirit on them. You know, sometimes you're dreaming and there's a thought that goes into your mind, and sometimes it's like the thought is so good, sometimes you get up and you write it down, or you wake up in the morning first thing and you just try to jot down what you can remember. It is the Lord that seals the instructions of men. You know, Job 33 verse 15. But once again, Micah 2 verse 1 again from the top, it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it." See, when the morning is light, what is that referring to? They practice it. They put it into some type of decree or doctrine or law or legislation. Why? It says, because it is in the power of their hands. The earth is given to the hands of the wicked. The wicked is ruling the earth. The Idumeans are ruling the earth today. You see, and this is all these scriptures point to them. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hands." They have the power, and their real blessing, what is the sword. You know, this is why, you know, America has over 850 military bases that they boast, but there's recent studies showing that there's way more than that. But that is their might, because that's the power, because it is in the power of their hands. See, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, because this is how they conquer. You know, This is how they go around and colonize the world. Let's see the word colonize. I'm going to bring it up here, the dictionary meaning. Colonize. It says, of a country or its citizens, send a group of settlers to a place to establish political control over it. Once again, of a country or its citizens, send a group of settlers to a place and establish political control over it. Go back to even the time of Queen Isabella and Ferdinand. They funded all these things to go on that quest to the Americas, what is known as the Americas today. They funded all that. And because why? This is how they do. This is how they get down. This is in their DNA. It says in the book of John 10 verse 10, the thief cometh not but to steal, kill, steal, and destroy. Roughly paraphrasing, because that is the MO of the thief. So let's continue here. It says, so once again, at stake is a possible military conflict between Iran versus Israel and the United States. The talks are indirect because Iran will not negotiate directly with the United States. That is huge. See, the talks are indirect. Indirect is it's not face to face. It's either through a third party or through, like it could be other means, whether it's by satellite or whatever, but that's still considered direct, but it's not like a face to face. It says the talks are indirect because Iran will not negotiate directly with the United States because they don't trust them. The Bible tells you in the book of Sirach, I think it's Sirach 10 and in verse, let me see it right here. All right, so Salaki, bear with me for 1 second. It is the book of Sirach, I think it's 12, Salaki. Sirach 12 verse 10, the water YAHAWASHI for that. It says, Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12 and verse 10, it says, never trust thine enemy. So what it says here, it says, the talks are indirect because Iran will not negotiate directly with the United States. They remember what under the Obama legislation administration, they had them where there's a thing. I don't want to dig it up right now. Maybe I should, but they had them where they couldn't develop their nuclear missile program. So they remember that. What's the sense that you are telling me that I can't have nukes, but you can have nukes, and your other allies can have nukes? America has nukes. The Israelis have nukes, but they don't want Iran to have nukes. Make that make sense. And once again, I always have to qualify this in case there's any new listeners out there. My word doesn't waver. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have a horse in this race. I'm here to bring out the truth of YAHAWASHI, bring out the scriptures, bring out the doctrine. The truth, it says, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So this is not about getting into your emotions or anything. This is the truth, the true doctrine of YAHAWASHI. You see, it's the hate the evil and love the good, And that's all it is. Once again, because all these people here, they're all heathens. They all took part in our demise, So let's continue here. So the Bible tells you in the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10, again, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. This is why another reason why they don't want to have direct talks with him. It says, though he humble himself and go crouching. So they're telling you they don't want you to advance your nuclear missile program because they already have other objectives in mind. If the Lord bless you with the eye salve, you could see right through what is happening here. They don't want them to have nuclear missiles, but they want to continue building their nuclear missile arsenal. Make that make sense. So when they're ready to dismantle them, that's exactly what they do. It says, though he humble himself and go crouching, coming in all that docile state, speaking to him nicely, doing all these things, yet take good heed and beware of him. Yes, be cautious of him. Remember, there's no new thing under the sun. They remember what they've done to other places in the world, all how to destabilize all these countries and governments across the world. They know that. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed. See, take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped away wipe a looking glass. You can still see the wickedness. And though thou shalt be his rusts have not been wiped, Salakit, and thou shalt have his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Salakit for that. So this is what they are doing. So they're basically coming crouching, trying to set up some type of deal that where they don't advance their nuclear arsenal, because they know. And some of those people, so Amalek knows the Bible better than most of the nations out there. So they know that Iran is listed in the first nation in Ezekiel the 30th chapter. You know, it also tells you too in 2nd Ezra 15 verse 28 down, where it tells you that the Carmanians will come in great wrath. You know, behold a horrible vision. You see, and the appearance thereof from the east, because they know that the Carmanians are going to come in great wrath. And they know this. They know the scriptures. You see, it goes here. It goes on to say. It says, according to Iran Foreign Ministry, the talks between Iranian and American are taking place in 2 separate rooms. See, not even a direct, in 2 separate rooms, and the exchange of positions will be carried out through the Omani Foreign Minister. So they're not even in the same room. See, indirect. The Iranian foreign minister said this morning, our goal is to reach a fair and honest. A fair and honest. Let's go back to where we were earlier. Just going to have a precept here lined up. All right. So it says, the Iranian foreign minister said this morning, our goal is to reach a fair and honest agreement from a position of equality. If the other side approaches it from the position, then, inshallah, there will be a chance for an initial agreement that will lead to the beginning of the negotiation process. So we just read, never trust an enemy, because they know that these people, they can't be trusted. This is the book of Psalms 58, and continuing on at verse 3, it says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. So they don't believe, they don't trust them. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent, with all the bloodshed that they have done throughout the earth. They are like the deaf adder that stompeth her ear, Salakia, because they don't trust them. That's how they're coming in. You see, Israel and the United States are insisting. Listen to this. Israel and the United States are insisting that Iran never had a nuclear bomb. The Israelis and the Americans are insisting that Iran have never a nuclear bomb. See that? And have repeatedly said that they may bomb the Iranian nuclear program to assure no such development by Iran. So they're basically saying, I quoted earlier, they're the only ones that are supposed to have these missiles, but Russia has made it clear if they touch Iran, especially on this level, it will be catastrophic for them. And of course, Iran has nuclear missiles. Don't get it twisted. See, they were showing you recently, boldly displaying underground tunnels where the 2 generals were walking and showing all the missiles that they had. It says Iran has replied that despite the United States pulling out a joint comprehensive plan of action negotiated under the Obama regime. Let me see if I can pull that up. Let me see if I can pull up something on that, because I had a whole, let's see, 1 second. Let's see what I can do here. All right, let's see if I can pull up something on this quickly. Let's see. What is the Iran nuclear deal? In a short summary, let's see. Signed in 2025 by Iran and several world powers, including the United States, the JCPOA placed significant restrictions on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. So you see, they were sanctioned and getting heavy with all the tariffs and stuff, and this is all part of it. They came together with an agreement so they can kind of not build nuclear weapons. It says President Trump withdrew the United States from the deal in 2018, claiming it failed to curtail Iran's missile program and regional influence. Iran began ignoring limitations on its nuclear program a year later. Washington and Tehran have both said they would return the original deal, but they disagree on steps to get there. They'll never come together. The Iranian nuclear agreement, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, is a landmark accord reached between Iran and several world powers, including the United States, in July 2015. Under its terms, Iran agreed to dismantle its nuclear program, yada, yada, yada. Let's see 1 second here. Yada, yada. Let's see here. Just want to see. It says, who are the participants? Let's go right to it. Iran's civil nuclear enrichment program. At the heart of negotiations were Iran and 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council: China, France, Russia, UK, and the United States, and Germany, collectively known as the P5+1. The European Union also took part. All right. Let's see. All right, let's read this here really quickly. What are the goals? The P5+1 wanted to unwind Iran's nuclear program to the point that if Tehran decided to pursue a nuclear weapon, it would take at least 1 year. See that? Giving world powers time to respond. So it's not even in favor for the Iranians, but they're smart people. They have some bright scientists, That's another reason why the Israelis and stuff, they take out some of their top weapons makers and stuff and their scientists, because they want to destroy the brains behind the technology making. United States intelligence officials estimated that in absence of an agreement, Iran could produce enough nuclear material for a weapon in a few months. See how fast they can build that? Negotiation nations fear that Iran moves to become a nuclear weapon state risk to them, thrusting the region into a new crisis, because they know that Iran is the main country in that region that has the power. Because they are big, they have a large army, and they're backed by the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, so on and so forth. One concern is that Israel will take preemptive military action against the suspected nuclear facilities in Iran, as it had in Iraq and Syria, perhaps triggering reprisals by Lebanese-based Hezbollah or disruptions of the transport of oil in the Persian Gulf, messing with their money. Additionally, Saudi Arabia has sent signal and willingness to obtain a nuclear weapon if Iran successfully detonates one. See, there you go. It's a beautiful read, because let me see. Does it prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons? Many experts say that all parties adhere to their pledge. The deal almost certainly could have achieved the goal for longer than a decade. Many of the JCPOA restrictions on Iran's nuclear program have expiration dates. For example, after 10 years from January 2016, centrifuge restrictions will be lifted, and 15 years. So too would limits on the amount of low enriched uranium Iran can possess. See that? Some of the deal opponents faulted these so-called sunset provisions, saying they would only delay Iran from building a bomb, while sanctions relief would allow it to underwrite terrorism in the region. All right, so let's go back to where we were. This lesson took a totally different turn, but it is all to the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI, because they have that power, you see. And it says this agreement was still in force and effect of other countries that signed on to it, as in such Iran honoring that agreement and has no nuclear ambitions. Yeah, right. Israel, of course, is paranoid and wants absolute proof. See, there you go. And absolute control over the issue, which Israeli has no right to seek, because Israelis itself has nuclear weapons. See, that's the whole thing. That's the whole point here that prompt me to do this lesson, in a sense. It says, which Israelis have no right to seek, because itself has nuclear weapons, but they know that that is a major adversary in that region for them. So they're going to try to demonize and Salakia. They're going to try to demonize and 1 second. Sorry, to get comfortable with this chair. They had to demonize them and try to disarm them for them building their nuclear weapons, because they're afraid ultimately, because it tells you in the scriptures, behold, a horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east. Because they're going to fear, you see. Israel, of course, is paranoid, right? It says, Salakia, it says, this morning, Iran's proposed a nuclear-free Middle East. Iran seeks Israel being disarmed of nuclear weapons. They already have. They won't do that. That went over like a lead balloon, but the proposal has now been more updates when become available. Let me read that again. This morning, Iran proposed a nuclear-free Middle East. Iran seeks Israel being disarmed of the nuclear weapons that they already have. That went on like a lead balloon. There's no way you and a country is at odds, and you're going to get a country to agree on taking down their nuclear program. There's no way. There is no way you're going to get a nation to do that, because it makes no sense to them, right? They would not do these things because they know what's at stake. And like I said earlier, it's I had a whole bunch of precepts lined up to go into just to bring out this article here, but to bring out another thing. But I think through the Spirit and power, YAHAWASHI, I may do another video on relating to the topic that I was going into earlier, because I think that this lesson here, it took another it flow in the Spirit, but it took another turn. And you know what? All power, glory, honor to YAHAWASHI, because He directs the path of man. So a man's going is not it is of the Lord. It's the Lord who directs our path. So like I said, I just wanted to bring out something really quick. Hope I'm not missing anything here. Giving all praises, glory, infinite honor to our power, Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH, Shalom.